We followed winding, narrow two-lane blacktop, a couple miles before turning onto the somewhat narrower Starvation Lane. I hoped, for all I was worth, that the name of the road wasn't some sort of omen. I thought about what Melody had said. Maybe Aurora was starving in an attic. Half a mile further, we encountered the set of numbers we were seeking, in a dirt driveway. "This is it," said Melody, and turned into the driveway. The gate was open, but no trespassing signs were posted on either side of it. Melody ignored them. We'd gone about 15 yards when we noticed another sign, this one hand-lettered on a slab of plywood. "Keep the fuck out, and that means you." Melody kept driving. Suddenly my skin felt prickly all over. "Melody," I whispered, "I don't like this." We bounced along the drive. Melody shrugged. "It's just an old sign." Up ahead we saw a single wide trailer, one of the really old tin can types, like those we'd passed on the drive out. Long and narrow with small windows, it perched on cinder blocks on a large concrete slab. Poles supported a grooved sheet metal roof that covered the both trailer and slab. Moss and a few tired weeds grew in the grooves. A huge late model pickup was parked next to it, facing us and the road. Behind it, a couple older dead cars sat on blocks, and further back, where an upward slope ran toward forest, I spotted a couple outbuildings. One was an old, dilapidated shed, but the other one, a newer-looking pole building, piqued my interest. I thought once again about meth labs. Or maybe Aurora was up there. Suddenly a man emerged from the trailer. In one hand he carried what looked like a rifle. He gestured wildly as he stormed down the stairs and toward us. "Get out of here!" I yelled. "Jesus," said Melody. She rammed the car into reverse. The Mini jetted backward until it hit a large pothole we dodged on the way in. Its tires spun helplessly. We were stuck. "Oh my God," I moaned. "Calm down," Melody snapped. "Just shut up." Meanwhile, the man came at us. It was a rifle, and he pointed it at the Mini's right front tire, just in front of my foot. My chest tightened. From where I sat, he looked huge, towering. He also looked like the Unabomber, bearded and unkempt, with tufts of wild hair the color of lead protruding from beneath a baseball cap, his face contorted with rage. "Lord help us, he's even worse than I remember," Melody said. But she smiled as if she'd been waiting for this moment her entire life, and opened her car door. Before I could stop her, she stepped out onto the muddy drive in her $300 faux crocodile pumps. "Mr. Baker, it's so nice to see you again," she said. She oozed warmth and general bonhomie. My jaw dropped, nonplussed at her greeting. Baker kept his rifle aimed at the tire. "Who the hell are you?" he shouted, then cleared his throat and spat a big loogie sideways onto the ground. Lovely. "Why, I'm Melody Wyatt, Aurora's sister." She sounded like Vivian Lee in Gone with the Wind. By this time, I too had stepped out onto the muddy drive. I felt safer on my feet in case we had to run. I noticed as his dark eyes shifted warily from Melody to me and then back to her. His hand on the rifle hilt tightened. But at least he wasn't waving the thing at us. "What do you want?" Melody smiled again. "I'm looking for Aurora." Baker shifted his weight. "She's not here. I told you that on the phone. She left me almost a month ago." "I know what you told me," said Melody reasonably. "But the last time I talked with her, she was here with you, and we still haven't located her. So my friend and I decided to come down here and start looking for her." "You're in the wrong place. I told you I left her at the airport in Medford." "You did tell me that, and I checked with the airlines. They have no record of anyone named Aurora Johnson getting on a plane." Baker snorted derisively. "Well, sister, you were using the wrong name. You should have been looking for Aurora Baker." Melody stiffened, and he noticed. "Ha! You didn't think I'd make it legal? Shows what you know." For a few seconds, they just stood there glaring at each other, the air between them crackling with the electricity of their mutual hatred. I noticed his eyes as they tracked her, dark and hateful, without a glimmer of humanity. He was trying to figure out what to do with us. I was so petrified with fear that I went numb from lack of oxygen. A favorite escape mechanism of mine from the old days. He wanted to kill us, but he didn't dare. Melody reached for the car door handle and opened it. She appeared disappointed but unruffled. Well, thank you then, Mr. Baker. We'll be going now. If you could kindly just give us a little push out of this hole, we'll get out of your way. We slid into our seats and buckled up for safety. Melody started the motor. Her hand shook, but she smiled through the window at Baker, like he was her new best friend. He stood there for a minute, glaring at her, then leaned the rifle against his handmade sign and placed his enormous paws on the Mini's hood. "Put her in gear," he barked. He leaned his considerable bulk against the car. In reverse, Melody accelerated gently, and we lurched out of the pothole and slowly backed out of the drive. As we turned out onto the road, I looked back. Baker was yelling at us, his face reddened and angry. "Don't you come back!" he screamed. He picked up his rifle and fired off a couple of rounds into the air. Then he waved it over his head. "Bitches! You stupid bitches! Come here again and you'll be sorry!" I closed my eyes and sucked in a huge breath. I opened them quickly at the sound of yet another rifle shot. I jerked my head around. He was firing the rifle into the air again and ranting. We peeled down the road. "Tell me that was just a nightmare," I said. Suddenly I was breathing again, my hands clasped together tightly to keep from shaking. "I thought for sure he was going to kill us." "I told you he was scary," Melody retorted. "Scary doesn't touch it," I said. "He's psycho." What was she thinking? "He hasn't cut his hair since I saw him," said Melody. "He was better looking then." I gasped, not believing what I was hearing. "Oh my God, Melody, get a grip. There is no better looking about Cliff Baker. He is the Antichrist. Did you look into his eyes? He was ready to shoot us." Melody pulled abruptly to the side of the road and turned off the engine. "She's dead," she said flatly. "I know she's dead. I just know it. Oh God." She started to sob.